Hello, welcome to Flory Models Kit Review Time. Today we've got AMK's brand new release of their Kfir. This is the 1/48 scale. Slightly different tooling on this one as well. Apparently they've retooled the actual fuselage section on it because there was a couple of little minor errors, things like that. But apparently this one is very, very nice indeed. So, quick box art on there. Something a little bit different. Obviously we've got the dissimilar air training type ones that are in the US, privately owned now and run. Okay, looking around on the box, we can see down on there we've got a couple of nice ones. So we've actually got the Sri Lankan Air Force with the grey, usual as we might expect. We've got the Israeli one down there as well. Round on here, so your kit number for this one 88001A. Okay, and then down on here we've got a couple of other one. We've got Ecuadorial one and a Colombian one as well. Right, so in the box, pretty much nicely stuffed. We just stick that down there. First up, we'll have a look at the instructions. So, usual thing with AMK, we've got obviously the ones you're going to be making down in there, different versions, so just keep an eye out, you might be able to spot different ones down in there. Colour call-outs, we've got down in there as well. You can see we've got federal standard colours as well as other ones as well. Just trying to see, so it's saying clear reds and silvers and that, but not whose. A little bit different. Markings call outs at the beginning, which is a little bit different to the normal way of doing it, but you can see plenty of stencils going to be going down on those right the way through. Weapon loadout as well, depending, obviously open up the holes for different versions you're going to be doing for those particular loadouts as well. Okay, so down into amongst it all, usual thing, cockpit tub starting in there. So we've got rear bulkheads, control grip, usual things going down in there. Looks like we've actually got decals for the instrument panels going to be down in there. Again, depending if you're doing the C2 or C7 versions of those particular kits, and then putting those down with a cockpit with a rear wheel well just going in there. So front rear well being fitted to the rear cockpit. Those being fitted in down in there, very much simple, straightforward. Lower wing section, main wheel bays being put in on all of those being fitted in. So you've got multi-part, looks like nice detail in amongst all of those as well for the main gear, and then the tops as well. So you've got the top section going down on there, and then obviously fitting these down in, which we're hoping for nice clean lines and things like that. Air intakes as well, so we've got those first sections being put in as well. Then the outer sections being put in, and the Kfir's very famous forward canards being fitted on. Then we've got lots of air scoops, various little details going in at the top as well, just down on there. And then talking about doors going in already, probably going to hold those off to a little bit later on in the build, but we do have some more air scoops being fitted down as well on the rear underside of the fuselage. Gear doors, things like that, again, you're probably going to be waiting a lot later for those to go in, but it's interesting how they're recommending that the main gear doors go on before the gear. Okay, so I think it's just going to be a way of making that perhaps a little bit easier to go in, although it shouldn't clash to anything on those, I wouldn't have thought. It just seems an awkward way of doing it. And then we've got nose gear, again, lots of scoops and air vents and things like that going down on the underside. Nose wheel section being fitted in, and then obviously we've got those being fitted down as well. Two-piece front door section with the rear part being fitted in there as well. Again, blade antennas to be fitted. Depending on different ones you've got the paved penny lathes designator onto the front, or you'll be removing it if you're doing the C2 version, some lumps and bumps down in there as well. So a few differences between the two. Back end of it, we can actually put in the actual exhaust system. Looks like we've got a full rain up to the afterburner ring and rear compressor blade, so that's quite nice as well. Pylons being fitted in, again, a few more lumps, bumps, various things being fitted, and blade antennas onto the rear. Then into the seat, so seat, one of the last things to go in, that one as well, putting that in, and then obviously we've got the cockpit being shown in the open or closed position, whichever way you're going to be doing that one as well. Weapons fit, it's got a nice array of weapons down in here. So we've actually got Python missiles as well, Israeli ones down, and then Mark 82s, and then obviously we've got Mirs and Tiers being fitted on with those one. We've got the Griffin laser guided bomb and fuel tanks, as you might imagine, right the way through. And then we've actually got the pods for the air training ones being fitted down underneath it, obviously if you're doing the US version, and then showing the weapons loadout, which is quite nice on those ones for the different configurations. And then you get the parts call out, a little bit back to front on the instructions as we used to. Looking at these, we're hoping for those gorgeous slip single piece mold, injection molding for the actual weapons fit. And on the back, so as you can see, looks like very nice stuff. If you've ever seen any of the AMK stuff, you'll know how nice it can be. So just down amongst here, we're just going to have a look for the instructions, the decal sheet, which is just down in the back. Slip those out. Okay. So we do have beautifully done decals. Nice clear. It has got a little bit of film right the way over it, but hopefully you wouldn't notice too much about that. It's actually making some of these Israeli markings look like they're very, very thin, but actually I just think that's the way they've gone down. But they are very thin. You can't really feel them on here, so you would be hoping that the colour is pretty strong on these, otherwise you're going to be seeing various things come through. And I'm just a little bit concerned, I don't know if my eye, but it looks like they're not central. So maybe slightly off centre with some of the markings, but they are all in register. And they all look pretty good right down there, all the way through. Just looking through, seems to be pretty, a lot in Hebrew as you might imagine, but generally just walking around the sheet, you can see some very nice markings down on there. Obviously ones for weapons as well down the bottom here, things like that. Very nice indeed. Okay, inside the plastic, let's start with the new fuselage. Now, having not built the original one, we did review it, but apparently it did have a little bit of an issue with the fuselage shape. So apparently it's been retooled. So it looks like they've redone the entire mold. It's not like they've put in another part. Okay, but as you can see, very nice. Catching it in the light. Camera's picking up a sink mark down on this front edge. I don't know quite how much it's down in there, but it doesn't look too bad, but it looks like there is a very faint sink mark in there. Hopefully with a little bit of paint, primer and the intake, you're not going to see it too much, but it's definitely something going down in there. Okay, and then looking around at it, you can see we do have some very nice recessed details. Catching it in the light, you can see beautiful work. It's going to take a wash, and then obviously picking out panels, things like that, really very, very nicely. Again, on the other side, no problem. On this one so much, and it's still got a very faint, but it's definitely not as pronounced sink mark down on the underside in there, and that's all caused by this. Obviously we've got this little bit of plastic just down in here. Looks like it may have been popped out of the mold just a little bit too early, and as it's cooled down it's shrunk in a bit. But you can see we've got a little bit of internal details down in there, and we've got various formers holding the actual nozzle, things like that in there. And we've got a very nice section coming across down in here, which is going to make sure you've got the perfect spread, or hopefully for the wing alignment, so you won't get any gaps in it. So that's actually a really nice touch. So yeah, I'm hoping that's just going to be nothing that you can see too much. Okay, over on the other sprue, you can see pretty much busy one as everywhere. Can't see any flash on the sprue at all. Minimum burring. In fact, there's very little burring on that at all. Okay, and we've got no sink marks that I can see on any of this either. So having a quick look round on the close-up, you can see we've got areas for the cockpit wheel wells. You can see all that gorgeous detail down here for the wheel wells. That nozzle looking very nice as well, very nicely detailed. Main wheel pylon areas, things like that. We've got the pylons down in here. The pylon's a little bit bare. I don't know if it should have a little bit more detail on than that, but it doesn't look too bad. Got fuel tanks, so we've got the bags there, more pylons, more compressor blades, and then obviously inner main wheel well area. We've got the afterburner ring as well, looking very nice. The gear legs, some of the cockpit stuff down in there. Again, we've got some of the travel units. Wheel well doors, flipping it over, so that's quite a nice touch as well. We've got no ejector pin marks in any way you're going to see with the wheel well doors. That's quite nice. The cockpit, we do have a little bit of surface detail, but there isn't much going down in here. But to be honest, I don't think you're going to see much in there at all. But we've got no ejector pins on anything that's going to stick in the way. There's none in any of the internals, which is a very nice touch with that one as well. So a very nice, clean, crisp, sharp sprue on there on sprue C. Okay, the wings. So again, we've got nice bags. Okay, so under section looks like it is injection molded in one, just popped out in one. I can't see any sprue tab marks or anything else coming off of that, so it looks like it is injection molded in one. So you can see on the underside some nice details. It's not separate control surfaces on the trailing edge or anything else like that, unfortunately, but you can see some very nice, that typical sort of Mirage 3 way that the front fuselage joins the wing section, but we've got the gun section showing through as well, which is a nice touch with that one. It's got all the riveting detail. Then on the inside, got a tiny little bit of ejection pin on here, standing a little bit proud, so maybe you just want to make sure that's out of the way. Then obviously you're going to be opening up some of these holes as well for the pylons being fitted on the wings. But generally very nice indeed, no problem with that. Top half of the wings, and then we've got the actual intake areas. So again, you can see the nose, beautifully done, very nice, very clean, crisp, sharp details on that one as well. The pylons are all nice. Got the instrument panel, again, a little bit devoid of detail if we're honest. I can imagine a colour photo etch one fitting that absolute treat. The underside here, down here for the paved penny sight area, going to go onto that one. The other side of the nose, and you can see nice detail on the actual tops of the wings. No sink marks down in there, a couple of little ejection pin cobwebs. Again, moulded closed for the air brakes, but it's very rare you see them open anyway. Okay, sides of the actual intakes, very nice with the canard areas, things like that. Canards themselves, there's that paved penny sight on the bottom. In fact, I do believe it's the same one that the A10 carries as well. And then underside of the wing, so we've got some nice good strengthening. We've got the curve down on the outside of that part of the wing, going to be holding it around. Again, might just want to take out some of these ejector pins just to make sure they're not going to foul anything on the underside. But again, very nice indeed. Okay, so little bags. So fuel tanks. So we've got the bags down on the back, again, pretty much devoid of any sort of raised detail. It's all recessed down on this one, but we've got a tiny bit of raised, which is really nice for the riveting work down here on the fin stabilizer. Two-part with that one, obviously for two, and again a duplicate as well of this one. So this is the inside of the nozzle. It has got a slip ejector pin down in there, but you're not going to notice that because that's going to be banged right up again. It has got some very faint ejector pins just running down inside, so you might want to just make sure a little couple of swipes and that take care of that totally. Pylons, wheel wells, two-piece split, tyre system and hub, not so bad. Okay, and then obviously we've got the little areas for scoops and various things on there, so that's very nice indeed. Okay, bombs, we can just look at these through the bag. So we've got tier, triple ejection rack system down on there, and then we've got split two-piece Mark 82s with the fuse and without on that one, and we've got the sway braces and the fins from those. That's quite nice indeed. Little tiny seat. A quick look in here. So we've got both types of seat. Slightly different, as you can see the differences on those. So it's just a little few things on the side. The ejection pull handle obviously overhead or between leg type on that one for the two versions of those. Again, a nice little touch with those. Okay, weapons. Highlight of any of the kits. Still amazing how they can do this. Let's have a look at this one. One piece injection molded. That is a very, very nice touch. Very cleverly done. Slip molding at its best. Very cleverly to get that right the way round, and because of the way it is, the ejector pins are just tucked down out the way on the bottom, so the rest of it is all clear, so you've got no burring or anything on that whatsoever. And again, very clever how that comes together. And then when you're looking at clever, to have the fins all molded on the front of this guy, see them on my hand, in one piece. Admittedly, they look like they're an accident waiting to happen, so you're going to be very, very careful of that one. But you could probably paint that on the sprue and then just do a tiny little bit of cleanup afterwards, and you'd be absolutely golden with that. That is very, very nice. The only thing is, I'm terrified about how that fits together. Is it that way around? It is. So, is it that way around? There we go. So they actually lock together to protect each other, which is a nice touch. Okay. You can get it out the bag. There we go. Again, the missiles stacked, get all apart, just to protect each other. One piece put together like that, incredibly detailed. with the missiles. Very nicely done indeed. And again, very clever how they interlock back into each other on these sprues to protect each other and for just for travelling as a kit. And again, we've got the freefall Griffin GBUs as well, which you can see very nice indeed. So these are the Griffin ones. They're a different shape. There's normal GBU 12s on the others. So there we go. We've got the GBU 12s just down in there, slip molded again. So we've got 4 of those down in there, and we do get Mark 82s as single molds as well. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as well. So you've got the choice. You can have them molded in one, which again, there's hardly any burring on those, or you obviously got them in the kit as a standard, whichever way you want to do those. So you've got some for your spares box, no matter which way you go. Last up, clear parts. Okay, so we don't have any centre seam. We do have some mild scuffing, but that'll polish out, no problem at all. It's quite soft how this is gonna come in. I could imagine a masking set is a must on this. That's really smoothed completely between the actual framework and the glass. There's hardly any edge to that, so that will be a bit of a headache to try and mask. So I'll do yourself a favour with that and grab yourself a mask set just to aid in that, because that is very smooth between those. The floor one doesn't have one at all, but that's really nice. Small little ones as well, so we've got heads-up displays, we've got the mirrors moulded in clear as well, and we've got the paved penny sight on the front, things like that, and a couple of nav lights all done. No centre seams, that's a nice touch, but it is going to need, but it's not the most clear part we've ever seen. There's a little bit of distortion down in there, as you can see, but again, I think by the time perhaps it's been dipped or polished, that'll aid that and it'll make it a lot nicer. So there we go, that is the Israeli Kfir. So this is C2, C7 version, AMK. We're thinking technically it's an upgrade to their previous kit, because this one has got the correct body on there, so I think it's going to supersede the earlier one that AMK did, but it is an absolute must for your kit collection.